Big thank you for everyone. I hope the lunch was tasty, and it's my privilege to introduce to you two experts in the field who've also spearheaded a lot of the discussions today, which is great. I must apologize on behalf of Ramaiah. He unfortunately had an urgent appointment, so it'll be Lakshmi and Anik for today's panel. May I start by firstly asking the audio team if they can have microphones, please. So before we get started, I'd love to, Lakshmi, just ask just if you can share to our audience a little bit about your background and what do you do?
Okay, so I am from an engineering background where I did my bachelor's in mechanical engineering, and at that point I'm really not into engineering and I really love math and stats, but you know, the usual trend of people going into engineering. And then after that I joined Cognizant, where I worked in IT, or you know, IT, healthcare, you know. I worked on multiple stuff there, and then I moved to the US, where I did my master's in integrated engineering as well as minor in stats. That's when, you know, I got exposure to, you know, SAS. You know, I did some in Cognizant, but that's not too much on SAS. So that's when I realized data analytics is my core area of interest. And that's when, you know, I got into PPD through a campus placement. And from there, I have been through, you know, multiple organizations. You know, I have been with Syneos Health, and I have been with PRA, and then my currently I'm with Ephicacy from the past 1.5 years. And before that, I used to work with Kite Pharma, a subsidiary of Gilead, where I have learned a lot over, you know, understood the drug development process, just not the routine work of doing STTMs, ADAMs, and TFLs. I have been on the panel for the FDA, where we did a lot of NDA submissions, you know, for almost all the drugs that I had. And it's an amazing experience. And then currently with Efficacy, I have been leading one of the, you know, couple of clients, along with, you know, working on the automation for STTMs. And so that's when the spark has come to me to understand what all these, you know, new technologies are. And so I did a lot of research on this, and I tried to propose a STTM automated solution, and we are trying to work towards that. So that's my, you know, introduction.
Awesome. And Anik, could you share a little bit about your background and what do you do?
Thanks, Thomas, and thanks, Lakshmi, for sharing your background. So, I mean, I'm a student of statistics till my graduations and post-graduations, and I've been working as a lecturer before I born and brought up in Novartis into this field of statistical programming when I started in 2006. But from 2006, between 2006 till 2022, when I was there in this organization, I worked into different types of role, not only to statistical programming, but beyond that in real world analytics. And it was good, actually. I mean, with respect to my nature, I'm a kind of a person, always I try to, you know, find out something different. Yeah, certainly keeping personal life aside, but yeah, something different in the work that we do on a daily basis, that what else are there to learn, and I was doing that. And then I joined Merck, where I'm working now, Merck KGaA Darmstadt. So I'm serving the statistical programming team in India, and in parallel to that, I'm also helping the real world evidence team and some of the other teams locally in India to, you know, support and grow. So that's all. Thank you.
So we've heard a lot today about different ways of machine learning. We obviously have our thinking, but let's start with you, Anik. In your experience, how do you see machine learning in general being adopted in the field of statistical programming?
Yeah. So machine learning is getting adapted in multiple ways if we look into the overall side of statistical programming. Now, one of the most important part for which probably we all would be aligning, and some of us are already looking into that, is probably for the SDTM generations, because when we have metadata driven approach and we are implementing that, that is one certainly big area that all of us are observing that kind of changes. At the same time, ADAM or TFL in a couple of areas that we see right now, even over the whole day, right? Now, if I see more so there are more definitive and very distinctly designed standard ways, so where actually it is not probably a scope of the machine learning, but we are using it with automation, normal automations, but there are many places where actually machine learning process can be used or are to be used. One of that actually, as you have shown today, right? So that is one of the areas, right, where actually we can look back for the quality of the overall study or their health or hygienic perspective, right? How things has been developed, right? Instead of not that what I'm developing, but how it has been developed, that is also important. And to answer that question, how, right, it is important that we take help of these technologies and find out, okay, those answer, right? So in that log, okay, when we are feeding the log, it is telling me, right, how healthy, how better way things has been developed, right? And that is what is really important. Right. Thanks.
What's your take on this, Lakshmi?
Okay, so there has been a lot of digital digitalization that is happening in the clinical trial drug development process. If you take it from the protocol development to the final FDA submission, there have been different phases of area where you can utilize AI ML models to accelerate the drug development process, to reduce time, to save money, and to also, within statistical programming, you can try to think that, STTM automation. What does that mean? So you're trying to say that you're not writing the code for STTMs and then they are generated by a click of a button. But then you still need to have that validation component that should be included. But if you take patient registration, which is very important in all the clinical trials, and most of the dropouts and cost a lot of money. As well as, whenever you think about it for rare diseases, you'll have very less patient, registration. And all these sort of things, this is where AI or, ML can take in vast amounts of data from different databases like EHRs or clinical repositories, registries, and then they can try to get a structured learning or unstructured depending on what the methodology is, and then they can come and find out that this patient might be available for this particular rare disease, because that is something that is available throughout the literature, throughout whenever patients come to the hospitals, you'll have all the data, claims data, you'll have all those data. But then going into each and every database and getting all the information is very tough. So ML models can help in doing that. And coming to the data management, you have CRFs that you need to create for every study. So if you have a standard library of CRFs, if you know that there has been an initiative by Transcelerate Pharma, which is called Digital Data Flow, which is trying to standardize all the documents that are currently in in Word or just not digitized. So they're trying to move all the processes to the digital area. So you can use all methodologies with respect to ML in that area as well. It's not just in statistical programming. There are many more areas out there where you can make it work, and real world analytics and real world evidence data.
And Anik, moving on to you, do you have any real live examples that you've come across where machine learning has really been used and plays a role in automating some key processes?
So, I mean, are you asking about where it has been used or can be potentially used?
Both.
Both. Okay. So I mean, I can say, as I was mentioning, like, okay, SDTM generation is one of the place where actually I can see that it has been used widely by multiple organizations, and even there are places where ADAM to some extent, like not obviously like efficacy kind of endpoint, but at least towards the standardizations of the safety, it is actually under experiment or in the development stage by many organizations. Right, so these are all kind of use case, but still I can see actually a lot of other areas, actually potential areas where this can be used. And before I talk about that, probably one thing, like when we talk about in statistical programming, like I would say, like as a statistical programmer, we not only develop some data sets or tables, but we contribute into the overall life cycle of the development process. And if I see, like, one of the very high potential areas that I would say very often organizations, they do struggle actually in the sample size calculations for pediatric trial, right? We see probably highest rate of the pediatric trial goes on hold because of less sample size, where we have anticipations like kids not to take part in the trial depending on the situation, and we hold, and potentially it falls, right? And the huge amount that has been invested, right? And certain point of time when we are approaching towards the deadline or planned timeline of the trial, and we don't have any option rather than to stop it. Now, having an early determinations from the previous all pediatric trial, right? All those has been done by all the organizations, are already stored in multiple general database. Using those data to identify, right, what are the dropout rates and what are the fall of the sample size, then we can actually create warning for this automatically for the ongoing pediatric trials, right? Using machine learning algorithm, it can actually warn, look, potentially we may run out of the sample size, and warning that, right? We may avoid a lot of early closure of the pediatric trials, right? This is one of the important area. Another very interesting area I was actually thinking just few days before is that about missing data imputation. Potentially we talk about like LOCF, WOCF and all these, right? But beyond that, right, it is important to identify what kind of missingness it is, right? Whether it is missing completely at random, missing not at random, or missing at random. There are broadly three categories. And there are distinct process to identify what kind of missingness exactly it is in your data. Based on that, the suggestive procedure would come into picture. And the process of identifying this is actually a very tedious job, okay, for a statistical programmer when they are into this. Whether the missingness is really showing any trend from the observed data, or it is showing any trend based on the unobserved journey of the patient, or it does not have any, trend between observed versus unobserved, right? And identifying them and saying that, look, on the go, we have study, I have missing data, and my machine learning algorithm comes and gives me a warning. You have missing data of this category. You have missing data of that category. And based on that, we can come up with the suggestive solutions and building the model, right? What are the principal component for that missing data imputations, and create the model for multiple imputations for this. So this is one of the very important area where most of the biostatisticians, statistical programmer, they face challenge identifying those missingness, because it is nature-wise, it is sort of kind of learning that needs always with respect to data that is existing versus non-existing. So I see this is one of the very, very promising area where machine learning can help us potentially.
Lakshmi, as we discussed, job security is a concern to many. What are your thoughts on how machine learning may impact the roles and the type of roles for statistical programmers now and in the future? And also, what are the opportunities?
I think machine learning is not going to replace us. It's just going to help us to do things much more efficient, and you might want to do a different skill set to do that, because machine learning will usually what happens in machine learning is you're trying to feed the machine with vast amounts of data, and then you're trying to create a model out of it and see how that model predicts on your data, that is that the new data that you're trying to put in it. So and then and how much confidence do you have on the model, and all sorts of things will play a huge role. And I think, like I said before, there are three aspects to it. This whole science is divided into, as per me, I take it as, the data engineers who kind of prepare the data. And there are people who build the algorithms, the machine learning algorithms. They kind of build the model, they train the model. They also, hyperparameter tuning, they fine tune the models, and they do all sorts of things to make sure that they reach the certain objective of giving that confidence to the client. And the final area is where the data scientists, they take in the data and then they provide insights to the business stakeholders. So, you'll have more skills that you need to develop to to get acquainted with this new technology that is happening, or new things that are happening. It's more like back in the days when you started off in 2000, there has been a software crash like that. Everybody is going through AI. It's not going to take away anything from us. It's just going to help us to be more efficient, and there will be a lot of synergies between human and AI, that will be developed. And I feel on a personal level, AI could help curating some of the things on a personal basis too. So take it as an advantage and then use it, because there needs to be a human intervention in this whole process, because validation is a key.
So with that, I'd love to open up to the floor. Are there any questions? And if I could get some help from someone just to do the mics, Vikas or Shaurya, if you could take the mic there. Does anyone have any questions you'd like to? I think we've got Mr. Pfizer here. Just one second.
I heard from one of the article or from one of the blog, so like Siri and Alexa. So if you take any one protocol, so we are doing so many automations, and it will execute. Okay, run ADSL. Okay, Alexa, run ADSL, and Siri, run ADSL. So that type of automations can be expected in clinical industry.
So, I mean, I can resemble your question to, one of the one of the scenario today morning that we were seeing in Thomas, your slide in 1970, when someone was thinking about the machine can do in probably next 3 to 4 years, and now we are in 2024, right? So, I mean, to be honest, Vamshi, I don't see any good reason why it cannot be. Perhaps it can, but question is like, are we thinking that would that be a threat for us, or would that be a boon for us, right? So that's what is important. One thing certainly, right? Okay, no big change can happen over the night. It's not magic, right? It's all about the logical and algorithmic approach. End of the day, right? So those who are statisticians out here, or those who are not statistician, one thing for sure, like the basic principle of the whole artificial intelligence and everything stands on logistic regression, right? So the basic, algorithms that we know, right? Okay, how we can predict, right? So from regression theories, and certainly things are developed on top of that one by one, right? And we see that okay, there are challenges for many things, many implementation, and even in our learning of macros also, we were told and we have learned modular macros are better approach than probably a big macro doing a big job, right? Today you have seen that Thomas was showing LLM1, then it is getting fed into LLM2, right? So that it is modular we can do. And slowly we are developing towards perhaps this future when, Siri, Alexa, or something some different name can do, but yeah, end of the day, it is important that we use it responsibly and we use it properly in a right channel. Otherwise, even though you use artificial intelligence, you might end up with some natural stupid thing, right?
So I just wanted to add one thing to here. Okay, you ask Siri to do ADSL and it does ADSL. So who is responsible, Siri or you? So what will you submit to the FDA? So who is going to do the cross-validation? Obviously it's you that you need to tell, okay, this is my ADSL that is getting ready, right? And you can ask any LLM, ChatGPT, anything. They'll give some kind of prompt, but your human intervention should be needed to make sure that the answer is right. So that's the answer.
Hello. Firstly, I want to thank Verizion for organizing such a wonderful event. My name is Rajesh, and I am from a company called Cleantech Informatics, which is basically into SaaS training and also job placement. Nevertheless, I am not from SaaS or not a statistician, but I got to deal with a lot of students who just graduate from bachelors of pharmacy or biotechnology students. They're not necessarily from elite colleges or from metros. They might be from rural landscape across the India. So before I can suggest them or guide them, because I have the advantage of the best possible statistical giants and clinical experts here. So before I can enable them to make some decision for assessing themselves, whether they have to switch to pharmacy, from B pharmacy to clinical research, what are the top 3 qualities you would suggest that they should assess themselves so that they can step comfortably into it and probably one day become thought leaders like you?
Thomas, you want to go ahead or?
No, please. And you're the thought leader.
Okay, thanks. Look, I'm sorry, I'll just try to answer it in a bit different way. Do you expect when you are visiting to buy Tesla and the service advisor is suggesting you about the mileage of that car or the technological advancement of the car?
Probably the latter.
The second part, right? The technological advancement. So when a statistical programmer is there, it is more important for him or her to understand where he or she is going to contribute. Not that as a human, how many tables, listings I can generate, okay? It's not that what I'm generating any number, what it is. It is more important to understand that what I'm generating, finally where it is contributing, what a clinical or statistician is intended to look in that report, what it brings a message. Once we as a statistical programmer start understanding that, that brings the quality of the job, right? Not that 10 tables or 20 listings. So in my opinion, again, it's my personal opinion, in my opinion, it is more important, instead of developing, I develop 30 tables, you can develop, that's fine. But important is that what I have developed, what exactly it is carrying the message about the drug, about the mechanism of action, how it is working on human body. Are we really having an understanding on that? And can I connect this report with that? So reading from the protocol, from clinical development plan of that particular molecule to understand, this is what is important for a statistical programmer.
Thank you.
Thanks.
I think, let me explain my view on this. For anybody to enter into any field, I feel the basic things are the analytical capabilities of that person. I feel everything around me is math. Maybe I am a math nerd, while I was in school, and I tell my kids the same thing too. Everything is math. Even while you draw something, it's all symmetry. And you accurate precision that you wanted to do. And for statistical programmer, any B pharmacy, I understand they understand the biological aspects of the molecules. They can kind of deal with pharmacokinetics, pharmacodynamics of the drug. But then, anybody can move into any field, I would say, if they have the analytical knowledge and if they are really passionate about what they are trying to do. And the field of data analytics is everywhere. data is everywhere. It's not only in clinical, but it's in healthcare, it's in banking, it's everywhere, and genomics, everything. So it's all numbers and analytics and stats from my perspective. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think something to add is, if you're asking about software as such, I don't know. But if you're talking about biology, people with biology backgrounds looking for a career, right, in a clinical research. So there are, for example, in our experience, we had to do half of our team make non-engineers for testing, software testing. That's because, we saw an eye for data is not there in an engineer, because they feel happy when the software looks okay, but the number is wrong. For example, when a biologist sees a red blood cell count of 12, it means something. For an engineer says it's 12. It's 112. It doesn't matter for him. It's still 112. They don't have an eye for that. So those are the kind of areas where we had to fit, non-traditional roles with biology people on the software testing, and then. This is a non-programming job again, right? It's not about the need to learn R or SAS or anything. And of course, there is test automation and other things which engineers' job, so I would say engineers will do that. Then there are also aspects of the SDTM and conversion, CRFs. A lot of them also dealing with data quality, not just the software side, but understanding what's wrong in it, what doesn't make sense, even if you plot something. Right, so those, I think, areas, they have the natural instinct to question something is wrong, which that instinct may be different for an engineer who's coming from a different kind of a background. For an engineer, it is like, okay, is a number supposed to be a decimal? It is decimal, it's okay. A number supposed to be integer, it's integer. But for them, it can be different. Okay? When you show to a toxicologist a number, it means he looks at very differently to a statistician, to a another scientist or another engineer into that. So there are job openings, I think, beyond the just
when you show
programming.
Something to a safety scientist regarding the adverse events, they'll have more affinity towards the data, because that's what they have learned.
So because they are trained on that, so then they see a number, it doesn't make any sense. They can't just continue.
Them,
So, well, as an engineer, it's a number.
Yeah, I agree to that point.
Anyone else? Any final questions? The gentleman over here.
Hello everyone, my name is Satnan. Firstly, I'd like to thank Thomas, for organizing this event, and on a lighter note, to keep the event free. I got so much interested looking at the topic as we talk about AI, and one thing which I noticed through the entire day, we have spoken about what. So I have a particular question about how it's being done on the back end. When I just Googled, the top 2-3 keywords that I got was NLP. And we've been hearing a lot about LLM throughout the day. So I just had a very technical question. Is NLP a part of LLM, or are these two things very different?
Do you want to take that?
LLMs use NLP architecture. So I think machine learning. So AI is the outer circle, and machine learning is the is the second circle that you have, and NLP comes under LLM with NLP. Actually, if I'm right, almost.
Yeah, I think
it has some correlation. It kind of has some interdependencies, I guess, but.
I wouldn't get too bogged down on the definitions either. NLP stands for natural language processing, so anything really that deals with language can be said to fall under NLP. To really define the fields, that becomes a little bit more of an academic exercise. But I think it's important, again, think use case. What are the type of solutions I need? Before LLMs, NLP was one of the, had a lot of attention, a lot of very, very popular. But it goes in phases, and so it also has to do with marketing and what sort of becomes popular. But yes, LLMs and NLP are fairly related because they do deal with language both.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else? Otherwise, let's say final question. Yes, sir.
Hi, I'm Varun. I'm from Novartis. So, in general, like we have seen a lot of tools. We are discussing a lot of language models, AI. I think in the end, what we try to do is we try to get drugs into the market as soon as possible. We are working for patients and all that. So I think my big question is, with all this technology, do you see in future that a trial is being designed by let me try to give it very simple. Can we see that a trial is designed by some AI looking at the data points, say that, this is how your data is. I think you need to recruit 50 more patients, or try maybe where some models will suggest a clinical trial or pharma company, why don't you try this approach so that you get better results or quicker results, or maybe I think you don't need 150 subjects, only 99 subjects would be sufficient for your trial to get so and so efficacy or so and so confidence. Do you see that happening in the market and the big pharmas? Just curious.
There has been some FDA regulation regarding AI ML emerging technologies that can be used in different areas, and protocol development and identification of target molecules, and how do they work with the timelines is one major area that they're trying to do. With all the research that they have, they're trying to see if this target molecule can be associated with another trial, or another molecule combined together will make that efficiency or efficacy much more than the normal trial. So there are some AI ML techniques that are going into it, but yes, I would say, because I have seen some case studies where they have done it. And also from the perspective of machine learning models into the patient registration, trying to understand what the literature and the phenotype of the patient, and also the genomics data of that patient, they could get for that particular disease, and then create the list of patients who can do that. So ML models have been particularly used in that, because I have seen a couple of case studies which do that. I don't remember on the top of my head the exact one. Yes.
Maybe just something different, from little more from moral or ethical point of view. Do you think AI or something of this can be misused to trace back or create some kind of data, say that I want to prove my drug is efficacious or is better than some other competitive drug? Do you think AI, do you think there's a chance that companies might use AI, to reproduce some kind of data, like, I want this drug to be better, so kind of create some kind of data and submit on. Do you think that can also happen? Just a moral ethic. Is there any control that is being planned at any level? Just
FDA released a whole list of control mechanisms that needs to be taken place with data integrity and accountability for all the data that is coming in and using AI ML models. So there has been a lot of regulations that have been put in place by FDA, and I think the recent one has been released this year. So if you read that, you will know how they are trying to approach this kind of data integrity issues, and making sure that data is correct and not biased and everything. So there are a lot of mechanisms that they have put in place.
Anik, any thoughts?
Yeah, so Varun, that's actually a right question for this particular time of the discussion, right? Whether it can be planned to create the story in the back of the time, right, to prove the future. Okay, now you see, like, okay, we have already in place something that we all know, right, 21 CFR Part 11, right, where date time stamp and the traceability has been very key of this, right, so that any change that is happening should be noticeable. And if you read about the release from FDA about the uses of AI, so in that also you can see this is covering the same thing, that it has to be within the standard framework of the system and tools, right? In that a validated system has been key mention over there. Now, coming back, still there is an opportunity, okay, where choice of patients from the whole pool for a particular study, so when you have like 500 or 800 subjects for a particular trial, choice of group of patients you can actually do using a AI or ML derived, process for what group of patients this drug can potentially work, still you cannot go for submission with that, right? Because the moment you are actually doing it on the secondary data, and you cannot go for submission or claim that your drug is actually working for that. You have proven it is working, you've tried, okay, but still what you need to do, you need to design a trial keeping these conditions in mind, otherwise you cannot go for a claim, right? So I guess we have enough measure to keep in place, and we have actually another thought of, okay, having human intervention that more and more we are speaking to see that we are using it in ethical framework, right, which is also part of GXPs, right? We are using it in ethical framework and has been used rightfully, right?
You can use AI/ML models to create the synthetic data, synthetic control arms. You have seen a lot of companies do that, because that's going to save a lot of time instead of create a whole trial and then, patients do not get recruited in the trial, and then that all the money that goes to waste. So, a lot of people are coming with this synthetic data where you can try to analyze the, interactions between the drug and the patient and see how it works. So, these kind of additional things will be useful with all these models. But the question that you asked, yes, there will be a lot of more regulations with respect to the data quality that we send with AI/ML models that we submit to the FDA.
I just want to quote one recent experience. Honestly, this is a bit out of the context, but this is just for an apt to the purpose. I just want to mention. How many of you have seen this movie on MS Dhoni, Untold Story, about Dhoni's biopic? Most of you have seen, right? And in that, one of very nice song was sung by Palak Muchal, a female singer, right? Right? And recently, there was an incident. One of the person who is an AI enthusiast, he developed this whole song in male voice for a very master singer, Kishore Kumar, who passed in 1983. And he tuned this model, if he has sung, how he would have, right? The style, okay, the harkat, what we say in musical industry, right? He pursued all those things in the model, and he created the song in the voice of Kishore Kumar. Now, thing is that obviously we are not going to believe it is sung by Kishore Kumar, right? Because he passed away in 1983. But this is what is a creative attempt, right? To learn for an enthusiast how that master would have done it. Can we think of recreating the song through this way, right? So it is all about, to boost your creativity, your energy for doing better thing, and that is what is the ethical use. Huh?
Yeah, ethical use is something which is very important, because there will be a lot of implications using this technology in different aspects all the time.
As a concluding note, I would ask everyone to ask Anik in private the story about how he was mistaken for MS Dhoni. If anyone knows that story, please ask him. He'll happily tell you. So with that, Lakshmi, Anik, thank you so much for being on the panel.
Thank you, Thomas.
Thank you for giving us the opportunity.
Thank you, everybody, for coming here.
And thank you all, every single one of you, for coming out today.